Hello everyone, how are you doing? A very warm welcome to my channel. It's so good to have you here with me. If you've visited my channel before, you'll have seen my hallway altar many times. It's the focal point of my witchcraft practice and it's very important to me. I consider it to be the heart of our home. We don't have a hearth or a fireplace in our tiny bungalow, so my hallway altar serves as the sacred place where I carve out my craft and perform my magical workings. I believe that your home absorbs your magical energy over time, and this leads to it becoming inherently sacred space. But most witches like to have a specific place in their home that they like to designate as sacred space, and this is mine. This is where I honour the moon, light my candles to carry my wishes, and do my weekly tarot and oracle card draws. Now my altar is looking really shabby at the moment. I've been doing a lot of work here and it's got really chaotic. I don't mind this because I think it's a sign that my altar is well loved and well used, but it's getting a bit out of hand. I'm going to give it a really good clean as a starting point. I'm going to make it look fresh and pretty to honour the turning of the wheel and the approach of spring. And then I'm going to have a look at my herb supplies and make sure that all my favourites are topped up. I'm going to tell you why they're my favourites and the ways that I use them. And to finish, I'm going to show you how to make a simple protection pouch using ingredients that you can easily source for yourself. In fact, you've probably got some of it in your kitchen cupboards. So I'm taking everything off my altar to begin with, and I'm always surprised by how long this takes and how much stuff there is on there. Everything on here is really special to me. If you're a witch, I'm sure you'll understand what I mean when I say that the tiniest thing can be hugely significant to you. A feather that you've been gifted, a particularly pretty pebble or shell, a leaf from your favourite tree, that kind of thing. I have so many treasures that have found me over the years. What are your favourite things? Do you keep them on your altar? I would love to know. I think I'm going to have to come up with a better solution to store mine because the little feathers and pebbles and little crystals and shells just get everywhere and I don't want to lose them, so I need to come up with a much better way to store them, I think. The actual base of my altar is particularly chaotic. This is where I do most of my magical working, and as you can see, it's just got ridiculously out of hand and it's so dusty and so untidy, and it really should be shown more respect than this, but it is a busy altar. I do lots of work here, so it's time to sort it out, give it a good clean and tidy and make it look like we mean business for spring. So let's get cracking on getting it nice and clean. Everything's off the altar now, and I'm always amazed at how big this space looks when it's empty. Um, the dresser top came from Facebook Marketplace years ago. I was so lucky to find it because it fits the drawers perfectly. And I'm always absolutely amazed at how much stuff fits on there. But there's far too much going on. So I'm going to sort it all out, give it a good clean and tidy, and hopefully it will look and feel much better when I've finished. I'm going to start by giving my altar a really good sweep down with the dustpan and brush, working top to bottom. And I have to tell you that it is spectacularly filthy, and I'm so ashamed of the state I've let it get into. But it's been a very busy few months. I've been really busy at my altar, doing lots and lots of work at it. So in a way, I'm quite proud of how it's looking, because it does show that it's well used and well loved. Well, that's my excuse anyway. So I've given it a good dust down on the shelves, and now I'm just going to sweep the base, and it's nice to actually see the real colour of the drawers showing through, because it's been a while since they've actually looked this clean. So once this is done, I'm going to give it a really good going over with my other cleaning bits and pieces. I'm giving my whole altar a really good wipe down with a cloth soaked in warm water, and I've added a few drops of pure lemon essential oil. I love the fragrance of lemon and citrus fragrances, and the reason I'm doing this is because it gives the whole energy of the space a lift, and it also leaves a beautiful fresh fragrance, and it doesn't harm the wood. It's very gentle. I only use a few drops, and I'm very mindful to make sure that it's completely dry before I let George anywhere near it, because he does like to be on my altar. He loves to spend time on here, so I'm making sure before he comes anywhere near that it's completely dry. But I'm going over the whole altar. I'm doing the shelves, I'm doing the base unit. This is particularly satisfying, to be honest. And already the energy of the space is starting to lift. It smells absolutely gorgeous, and the wood is actually starting to shine again. And already I'm feeling much better. Once all the dust is off, I'm using my own cleansing spray to give the whole area a really good spritz. Now, this is my favourite of my own products. I love using this. It has a witch hazel base, and it contains lavender, sandalwood and rosemary essential oils, as well as rose quartz, citrine, obsidian and amethyst crystals. It helps to remove any residual energy from the space. You could use sage, or you could burn incense as well to do this, or you could use bells or a singing bowl. What method do you prefer? I'd love to know, so please share with us in the comments below. All my treasures are getting a really good dust before I place them back on my shelves. As I'm holding each piece, I'm thinking about how it found me, or about the person that gifted it to me. I'm thankful for the memories they evoke and for how they make me feel. I take my time over this lovely little task, and I find myself becoming very absorbed, the little objects carrying me to different times and places. Although I've said before many times that the tools do not make the witch, I do love to have my own tools and treasures, and to keep them where I can see them and where they can absorb the energy of our home. That way, when I do come to use them, I know that they are ready. I believe that a witch's tools are an extension of themselves. They know you and respond to you. I think they should be treated with respect and reverence, regardless of how they are required. Lots of my tools are second-hand, but that makes them even more special to me, and I treat them just as kindly as I do the ones that I have obtained through more traditional means. It's time to give my altar a little glow up, and I like to do this very simply with my little stash of cloths and decorations. I'm using my favourite floral fabric as a base cloth. I think this is so pretty, it makes my heart smile. The altar is the first thing that we see when we come in through our front door, and when it looks lovely, I can't help but smile and be glad to be home. When I've finished putting everything together, I will add some more little decorations, but for now, let's get on with sorting out my apothecary. Before I start sorting out all my herbal bits and pieces, I'm just going to put my little bits back on the base unit of my altar. And the thing is that the way I put them back is never carved in stone, and I can guarantee that by the time I've finished, these things will not be in the place where I've just put them. They are going to be moved about until I get them where I think they feel right and where I can easily get to them. So this will go through many different permutations before I'm happy with the arrangement. I am going to try and keep this shelf specifically for my herbs and ingredients, but I do want to keep these particular items on this shelf because they're very important to me. These are things that I've been gifted or that I've found while I've been out and about, or particularly important flowers that have come from special occasions. So I want to keep those close to me as I'm working. And other than that, the pieces that I'm putting back now are just going where I'm going to enjoy them, where I'm going to like looking at them. I do keep my bottles of water and sand and black salt up on the top shelf, but other than that, these pieces are just going where I think they're going to make me happy. You can guarantee that wherever there's even the slightest whiff of magical goings on, George likes to be on hand to supervise, and I don't mind that one bit. I love having him involved in my work. I love using herbs in my witchcraft. I believe in the magic of plants and their ability to heal or harm. I believe that they are the vessel that carry the intent of my work. They are a gift from the earth. How can they not be filled with magic? Not all witches enjoy working with herbs and plants, and that's fine. But I love them, and they are a huge part of my craft. I love to grow my own out in our little backyard, but I also don't mind buying them fresh and drying them myself. If you watched my Thriving in Winter video, you'll have seen me doing this. And here I am, using some of those herbs and flowers to top up my apothecary jars. I'm also not averse to buying dried herbs in jars from the supermarket to use in my craft, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. But for special workings, I prefer to use ones I prepared myself. I think this gives my magic a little bit more of a boost. Today I'm topping up my jars with a mixture of herbs I've dried myself and the ones I have bought already dried. I keep the herbs I use most often out on my shelves. I reach for my favourites almost every day. I keep my more obscure herbs in the little drawers on my altar, also the ones I don't want George to come into contact with. He loves to spend time on the altar, doing lots of sniffs and knocking stuff off. He also knows that this is where the catnip lives. I do have a terrible habit of not labelling things. I'm always convinced I will know what something is when I go back to it, and then of course I'm not 100% sure. So it has to be discarded because it's just not worth the risk. So I'm making a concerted effort to make sure everything is labelled as soon as it lands in my collection. I'm not precious about the containers that my herbs are stored in. As long as they keep my herbs dry, I don't really mind what they look like. I have lots of different shapes and sizes. It might be nice to have them all looking identical and with the same labels, but that doesn't really do it for me. I don't really do matchy-matchy in all aspects of my life, to be honest. It's just not my style. But I only use glass containers. I don't care for plastic. I've bought some of my bottles secondhand, and I have also bought them from the range and places like that. Some of the supermarket bottles are actually quite pretty too, like the ones from Morrison's, so I don't mind giving them shelf space. I'm very lucky because in the building where I work, we have a wonderful zero waste shop that sells hundreds of loose products, including dozens of herbs and spices. You can buy as much or as little as you want. I always buy my sea salt from there, along with my cinnamon sticks, allspice berries, and star anise. If I had to choose my absolute favourite herb, I would have to choose rosemary. I love it for its protective and cleansing properties, and I use it in so many ways. I also love mugwort and hyssop. I use those quite a lot too. If you've watched my videos for a while, you'll know that I also love bay leaves. They are so protective and banishing, and I love to write my worries on them before burning them and letting the wind carry my fears away. The main categories of herbs that I regularly use are protective. This is when I want to prevent something from harming me. Attractive, for example, when I want to draw something towards me. Amplifying, when I want to increase something I've already got, or to enhance the effect of other herbs that I'm using. Banishing, when I want to get rid of something completely. And cleansing, when I want to clear myself, my space, or an object of any residual energy. For attraction work, I most frequently use cinnamon, mint, allspice, juniper, nutmeg, and catnip. I would either use them to make an oil or in a spell bag to carry with me. I will also use them to surround a candle that I've inscribed with what I'm trying to attract. For banishing, I favour bay leaf, black pepper and sage. I find burning them to be most helpful, although I have said before that I do not really care for the smell of burning sage. When I talk about amplifying something I've already got, an example of this is something like feelings of love or care, specifically self-care. For this, I would choose lavender, rose and pink salt. Of course, I realise that lavender and rose are not herbs. I'm just using the word as a catch-all to keep things simple. In this case, I would probably create a bath bag or make some bath salts and use these ingredients for a relaxing soak. For cleansing, I enjoy using a spray most of all. You've already seen me using my own. I love the way it lightens the atmosphere. But for protective work, I love having something physical to carry around with me. So when I've finished decorating my altar, we're going to make a little protection pouch that we can have in our bag or pocket and that we can just pull out when we need to. But for the time being, I'm finishing off decorating my altar and I love lights. As you know, I love fairy lights and we have them all year round in our house. If you've been with my channel for a while, you'll know how true this is. I think they just add so much to your home and to lift your mood. and I just love how they look on my altar now that it's all clean and sparkling and looking beautiful. And it's so lovely just to stand in front of it and soak up its lovely light vibe. It smells so beautiful and it just looks lovely. And to finish it off, I'm going to add a few spring tulips to my little jug just to brighten it up and bring spring into the house. I think spring's been a long time coming, and these just look so lovely and bright and happy. And it took me hours to clean my altar and get it looking like this. So I'm so happy with how it looks. The last thing I'm going to do is just do a single card draw from my beloved Woodland Wardens Oracle deck and pop the card on my altar to give me something to focus on in the days ahead. To make your protection pouch, you'll need a rectangle of fabric, any is fine, scissors, some pins, a needle, some black sewing thread, a marker pen, and your preferred protective herbs and crystals. I've chosen a bay leaf, some black obsidian crystals, some rosemary and some sage. I've also got some narrow black ribbon, but this is optional. And I've also chosen a little bee charm to add to my bag. But again, you absolutely don't have to do this if you don't want to. My fabric is approximately 7 centimetres wide by 17 centimetres long. And we're going to start by making a simple hem on the short ends of the fabric. So with the wrong side of the fabric facing towards you, just make a small fold, pin and sew. Just a simple running stitch is absolutely fine. And when you've done this, repeat it on the other end. Of course, George is here again to cast a supervisory paw over the proceedings. When you've hemmed both ends, with the right sides of the fabric facing towards you, fold your rectangle in half, and then we're just going to simply sew along each of the open edges. Not the top though, leave the top open because this is where you're going to pop your fillings in. So a simple running stitch again, or overstitch is fine. Try and keep this nice and tight though, because we want this to contain the herbs. We don't want them dropping out of the sides. So when this is done on one side, repeat on the opposite side. So when you've finished your stitching, turn your bag the right way out, so your pattern should now be on the outside and your bag is ready to stuff with your chosen fillings. Now this isn't designed to be a piece of great beauty. It doesn't matter if the stitching's ragged or if you don't have great sewing skills. I think it's important to do this by hand. You could do this with a machine if you prefer, but I think the fact that this is hand sewn is really important. So I'm going to start by popping my chosen herbs in. And the first thing I'm going to do is write on my bay leaf. You could write symbols on this, you could draw sigils on it if you prefer, but I'm just going to write that I am safe, because that's how I want my bag to make me feel. And this is going to get popped in the bag along with the other herbs that I've chosen. Now, these herbs are particular to me. These are ones that I favour. I really enjoy using these herbs, and I find that they have very protective qualities for me. So that's the reason I've chosen them, but you might choose something different. Do you have particular preferred protective herbs? I'd love to know what you choose, so please do let me know down in the comments below, please. So pop your herbs in, and as you're doing this, think about how you want them to make you feel. Think about how they actually feel themselves. What do they smell like? What do they feel like in your hands? How do they make you feel? Pop them all in, piece by piece, and really concentrate on what you want them to do for you. Pop your crystals in and push everything down to the bottom of the bag. This bag doesn't need to be big. I mean, this bag is tiny, but the idea behind that is that you can carry it in a pocket or in your handbag or in your purse, and for it to be unobtrusive and discreet. Now, you can seal your bag in a couple of ways. The first way is by tying it with ribbon. Now, I would only do this if I was planning to open the bag at some point and possibly add something to it. Now, this is not something that I would normally do. When I make a spell bag, as far as I'm concerned, once it's made, and I prefer to stitch it closed. If you use a cord or a ribbon to fasten your bag, then I would consider it absolutely fine if you wanted to undo it and add to it at some point. But I am not going to do that with mine. I'm just doing this to show you, that this is an option. But I prefer to stitch mine closed, and that's what I'm doing now. To me, the stitching's permanent, and what's in the bag is permanent, and I won't undo this until I'm ready to let this bag go. And who knows when that might be. It could be years. So I'm stitching it closed, and I'm going to stitch my intent with every stitch into closing this bag up and sealing the protection in there. And while I'm stitching this, I'm going to add my little bee charm into the stitching. And if you were using a ribbon or cord to seal your bag, you could tie the charm onto the ribbon or cord. That's absolutely fine. Or you could even pop the charm into the bag if that's what you wanted to do. But when it's finished, I'm going to knot the cord, and the knot is significant to me because the knot is what's actually going to seal the intent into the bag. So, yeah, my little bag is now finished. I'm cutting the cord, and there's several ways that you could actually complete this. But what I'm going to do is take my bag over to my altar, and I'm going to let it rest on my little pentacle and soak up the energy of my altar before I'm ready to pop my little pouch in my bag to take it out and about with me to protect me in everything that I do. Thank you so much for being with me for the last couple of days while I've been getting my altar sorted out. I've loved filming this for you. It's been great fun. There was a lot of work involved, but it's definitely worth the result because it just feels so much better, so much brighter, so much fresher, and ready for spring. I think it feels like it's really shaken off the last of the winter, and that's what I wanted, and it feels so much better. I really hope you've enjoyed coming along with me, and I hope you've enjoyed what we've done. And if you do make yourself a little protection bag, I'd love to know if you do that, and how it works for you, please. So please do share with us in the comments if you do that. We'd absolutely love to know. Thank you so much for being here and for being part of our lovely little witchy community. If you've enjoyed this video, I really hope that you'll give it a little thumbs up for me, please, because that will really help me. And I'd also love it if you'd consider please subscribing to my channel for more witchy lifestyle and mundane lifestyle content, and more of this kind of thing. If that's what you enjoy, I would love to have you along with me. And thank you for being here, and I hope that you are well and happy wherever you are in the world, and that you will join me again very soon. And until we meet again, please look after yourself, keep your light shining, keep your lovely head up, and blessed be.